Good morning or afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday, August 29th. Aren't these beautiful on the wall behind me? Finally got the disclosure flowcharts, the Deep State Mapping Project and the Great Awakening map up on the wall. I think I'm going to do a video just going over all the awesome keywords and topics in these because that'd be like a whole bowl of red pills all dished up in one video. And soon I will also be doing a video on my response to the whole Comedy Central thing. I've had a lot of people ask me, Jordan, what are your thoughts on it? And quite frankly, guys, I don't think about it anymore. To me, it's over and done with. There's so much stuff going on and so many things I'm focused on aside from that it's not even on my mind. But in honor of everybody asking me and to really just finish up that chapter, close the book, and move on, I'll be doing a live video maybe later today or tomorrow or eventually on it. So there's that. As for today's video, we're going to go over a shitload of Q posts from yesterday. There was like 30 or 40 of them, and they all really had to do with everything we're seeing blowing up in the media. So we're going to cover big tech, Google, Facebook, Twitter. We're going to cover Iran, the Vatican, what's going on with the China hack, and the FISA disclosure. So we'll take the main Q posts, not all of them because there's been so many, but the main ones, the real juicy ones, and link them up with what's going on in the current events and articles and whatnot. So let's just do the thing to this stuff. But before we get into Q and the news, there's one thing I want to share with you, ask you really, and that is why the heck was a floating mine, an unexploded mine, found in the Puget Sound waters yesterday? Look at this. Look at it. It's like one of the old school hole blowers there, just found floating in the Puget Sound waters. And look at the location of it. This is very odd. The location of this on the map, as you can see, is about halfway in between where that missile was shot off a few months ago north of Whidbey and where the plane crashed just a few weeks ago between Tacoma and Olympia on Ketron Island. This unexploded mine was found exactly halfway in between those two spots. So weird location. What the heck is this? Was it just an honest whoops, or was there a lot more to this? I'll tell you my instinct when I first saw this. I was like, is this a potential false flag that was maybe thwarted or something? This was only found about 1,000 meters away from a marina, and there's some ferry lanes going pretty close to this as well. So is it just left there hoping to make a scene with something? A retaliation, a message, I don't know. But just sharing it because of how odd it is and how freaking close to home this is, man. There's a lot of weird shit going on in the Northwest. Really making me want to move, guys. So getting now into Q's posts, we're going to start with 1946 and 48. So Q posted a link to a Twitter post from the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller, Cigar here, and he was outlining what Trump was saying in the White House yesterday about Google. So Trump said Google has taken advantage of a lot of people, and they're really treading on troubled territory. Trump basically saying the White House has an eye on the big tech companies. And after that, the corporate media with their tech friends just totally retaliated. Q saying, defend Google at all costs. Here's just a sample of the articles that were put out. One example is CNN saying, debunking Donald Trump's latest conspiracy theory on Google. So the fake news media were activated to try to discredit and squash that. These people are stupid. Censorship with no consequences. And truly, I would absolutely love if these tech companies were finally answering for their actions. Censoring on YouTube, my channel, many other channels, demonetizing, censoring on Twitter. You know, it's getting ridiculous. So it's great that that's going on. And now let's move into post 1947 here. This is really a lot of rhetorical questions, just outlaying what's really going on with that Iran deal and how all these corrupt politicians participated in that. So first, who paid Hussein, Barack Obama, to attend Harvard Law School? Who is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? Why would Prince Talal, a Saudi royal, bankroll Obama's attending of Harvard Law School? Was Obama any kind of prominent political figure or person of influence at the time? No. So Talal would bankroll Obama's education to get their puppet into America there, quite obviously. And Obama went and did politics in Chicago because I would imagine, as Q asks here, who is Mayor Richard Daley, who is Mayor current Rahm Emanuel of Chicago? That's where their tentacles were able to get them into America. Obama should be very nervous, Q says. Brennan should be nervous. Kerry should be nervous. Merkel should be nervous, and 29 other bad actors or people involved in the Iran deal. Because essentially what happened is that there was a bunch of cash, pallets of cash, that were transported on planes operated by shadow agency, rogue intelligence agency, and the money was not wire transferred, so they didn't have it on the books. It was a backdoor deal. How do you prevent financial transaction logs with cash? How were the cash withdrawals in EU categorized, labeled? Where did the cash originate from? Q is basically saying that this cash was flown in, helicoptered in even. Why was a helicopter involved? Divvied up between all these bad actors, and it was done so that Iran deal could get passed through. And then a bunch of Iranian spies could work with, domestic bad actors, and just all this corrupt shit could happen, right? And this is all coming to the surface right now. Who did the money go to? Good question. And it wasn't just a couple months ago, John Kerry being seen, photographed on the street meeting with some Iranian diplomats. I would figure he was trying to cover his ass or make some kind of deals to avoid all this coming out. Too bad, so sad. Also, in terms of Iran, this just happened yesterday. Didn't even mention this before talking about that Iranian post. Iran has arrested dozens of spies, says their intelligence minister. So Q just a couple days ago said, look at Iran, big shit's going to happen there. And this is that big shit going on. So Iran is being cleansed. Q team, white hats, just the alliance, whatever the heck's going on, is helping out with that. And then at the end of this post, 1247, Q out-snowed a little bit and asks, when did Snowden join the NSA? What year did Snowden release the specific details of PRISM? Mid-2013? Did this leak impact or limit the NSA's ability to utilize and collect data? Fake news push for congressional restrictions. So Snowden was a clown who released this NSA data on behalf of the CIA to create an excuse for Congress to rein in the NSA. And that basically didn't allow or limited the white hat's ability to collect data on all the bad actors, all these corrupt programs. So that's exactly what happened right there. Q asks, blue skies for a clown op, meaning clearing the way for all the rogue, corrupt bullshit to happen. Do you believe in coincidences? Nothing to see here. Move along. Jedi mind tricks. Move along. So that's what's going on with Iran in these posts. So now let's move on to the Vatican. Some stuff coming out about that. Post 1949 is the first one laying the Holy See relations out. And this is an excerpt from a state gov document. It says here, the Holy See is a universal government of the Catholic Church, and it operates from the Vatican City State, a sovereign independent territory. Notice this, guys. So not only with the Vatican, but with Washington, D.C. and the City of London, the financial district, they are all their own irrespective city-states within a greater territory. And that's exactly how the deep state or cabal or whatever the hell you want to call them, the Illuminati, have controlled the world. The Vatican is their religious control. They've financially controlled things from the City of London, and then militarily, with the military-industrial complex of America, they've controlled through Washington, D.C. And they have all of these independent city-states as sovereign judicial entities under international law. So that's their sanctuaries, as Q questions here. Sanctuaries against criminal prosecution. Not so much anymore, because in regards to the Vatican, the Pope is being totally outed. Pope Francis facing calls to resign. sexual abuse scandal exposes rift in the Vatican. So this is now going to the top levels. And because of that, we're seeing, again, the fake news media being activated to cover up the bullshit. The New York Times ran a headline saying here in a tweet, an ideologically motivated opposition has weaponized the church's sex abuse crisis to threaten not only Francis's agenda, but his entire papacy. Ideologically motivated opposition has weaponized sex abuse? That's absolute mind control bullshit. I don't think weaponizing, or I don't think, calling for the truth about pedophilia and sex abuse to come out is weaponizing anything. It's not a weapon. It's just saying, hey, if you're a corrupt asshole like the Pope, step down, Mr. Red Shoes. So moving on, post 1950, and Anon says, holy shit, it just hit me. In early drops, Q mentioned Godfather 3. Well, in Godfather 3, one of the main characters was fighting the corrupt elements of the Vatican. So that's what that meant all along in the first few months of Q. Q says, we the people are taking them down. And then connecting the Vatican to some Nazi ideology here. Those secret societies. I kind of coined the term of Vatican Nazis on Twitter yesterday. All the interlinking between the two. So in 1951, an Anon also says Iron Eagle. This was something mentioned in many of the early Q drops, was Iron Eagle multiple times. Q says double meanings exist. And Iron Eagle, one of the meanings referenced an emblem of the Nazis, Iron Eagle, with their co-opted swastika symbol below it. If you remember a few months ago, Q also linked an actual CIA document. I think it was posted in the 60s or 70s or 80s. It was a news bulletin that came out of the CIA. Q linked it, and it was discussing all the linking between the CIA, the Nazis, and the Vatican, all in the 50s and 60s, early days. So maybe I'll try to find that, link it down below here, and that'll give you some good background, good understanding to dig into about all these connections. Next post, 1952, Q says, stay local in the U.S. Global, what's going on globally is a reflection of what happens locally. So Q throwing some as above, so below stuff. Think mirror. So what this means is that just simply look to the U.S., even look to your local communities, and you'll be able to see this kind of deep state, occult, Nazi, again, throw whatever labels you want to on this stuff. It's just corrupt agenda. You can see it at all these levels. Local level is a reflection of global and vice versa. So let's just focus on the U.S. right now. And, as Q has said, the U.S. connects everywhere else. Then we'll be able to stamp this out. Next post shows some more of that symbolism. And Anon says, Nazi pin tag with communist symbol. You can see the Pope staring right at that symbol. Q says symbolism will be their downfall. And truly, in learning about all of these secret society symbols, if you look at the pedo symbols, the triangle, the swirl, the double heart, when you look at these symbols, it's like it's all out there. It's so in the open. There's so many businesses that have these symbols just plastered next to their names. There's so much symbology in, for instance, Super Bowl halftime shows and Grammy performances and in movies and music videos. It's just gross. It's gross. And it's so easy to see these connections between all these groups and who's a good guy and who's a bad guy with these symbols, if you understand them. So that's all in regards to the Vatican. Now let's move on to China. So we're going to go up to post 1958 here. Q links a previous post of theirs from February 22nd saying clowns revealed in China in 2010, 187 murder, sold intel, granted access. So that's some foreknowledge there. That was what, 6-7 months ago? Now we're into August and this is blowing out in the mainstream. So another piece of confirmation of evidence. Q's legit. But back on China. Trending non-mainstream media. China hacked Hillary Clinton's server. False. Access was granted to the Hillary Clinton server. Wow. So Hillary was actually offering up selling intel to rogue Chinese interests back in as early as 2010. And what this then allowed was this to happen. Killing CIA informants, China crippled U.S. spying operations. This was a post from 2017, New York Times. An article ran last year talking about what happened from 2010 to 2012. 18 to 20 CIA sources were all killed and imprisoned in China. So now, with that extra perspective there, I mean, if you never would have had that extra perspective, we would have just thought, oh, China hacked it on their own, right? Well, no, they were granted access. And this also reminds me of what Q had said in regards to the missile incident from a couple months ago. It was shot off north of Whidbey. Q said, think hack. Posted a picture of a sub. And an article to Chinese hacking our own military, right? Well, could Chinese rogue interests on behalf of CIA rogue interests hack that sub to try to shoot off that missile, to try to assassinate the president? Connect these dots. Connect all these dots. So, domestic enemies, foreign enemies working together. It's basically what we're seeing here. Post 1962, Q links a Fox News article from earlier this month. Feinstein was mortified by the FBI allegation that a staffer was a spy for China. Was she actually mortified? Not at all. She knew. She was acting. What is the purpose of a bridge? So what I take this question to mean is that the purpose of a bridge is to connect two sides. That's the spy. A spy is a bridge. We have spies connecting America to China. Rogue interests in each, you know. We're not going to blanket China or blanket America, but rogue interests. Spies connect them. Post 1970, on the China topic, Q says, you don't think military planes were falling out of the skies all within a short period of time just by chance, do you? Outside of standard deviation? I mean, how many have we had? 10 to 20 now? Within just a few months span, all crashing. Luckily, many of those pilots were able to get out. But again, and I referenced earlier the sub being hacked. So Hillary sold up this data. Now China rogue interests have it. And on behalf of, like I said, American rogue interests, they are hacking subs, taking down planes, sending messages that way. It's not by chance. It's true treason, as the Anon says right here. Next, post 1976, this gets into Donald Trump tweeting about China. Q saying, big statement, what's coming? Trump says, Hillary Clinton's emails, many of which were classified, got hacked by China. Next move better be by the FBI or DOJ, or their credibility will be gone forever. And then Q says, why is POTUS pushing the FBI and DOJ on the issue? What if access to the servers was deliberate? What if this was known in the intelligence community? What if this is known within the FBI and DOJ? So Q knows, they know, they know, they know, right? POTUS is pressing the FBI and DOJ because they knew. So this opens the door to Weiner's laptop, Huma, Hillary Clinton. Q asks, why was the information on Weiner's laptop in the first place? So it could be taken. That answers that question. Why would they even have all this info on Weiner's laptop? I mean, what the heck? Well, it's because they wanted that shit to get hacked into, right? Because they were offering up this information to various groups in China. There you go. And then last post on China right here. What if a paper trail exists? Presidential daily briefing via no such agency. Hussein made aware with no action. Why did the president refuse select presidential daily briefings during transition? Well, there were moles. There were moles there. Who knew? Admiral Rogers might have tipped POTUS off. Flynn tipped POTUS off. I mean, you can begin to see who was on what team throughout the years of, 2013, 14, 15, 16 right here, and why certain people like Flynn were so vilified, because the bad guys knew that he was working for the good guys, right? Why did Hussein plus Clinton plus admin and staff all use private emails to communicate? Why was Clinton the only one to use an unsecured server? etc. Awan, Pakistani intelligence, Awan Free, Human Muslim Brotherhood, matters of national security. So you're seeing the picture play out with all of that. Okay? So last thing we're going to talk real quick on is FISA. A few posts on that. We're going to go back to 1971. Q posts another Sarah Carter article. Bruce Orr, the FBI knew about bias before getting a FISA on Carter page. This is a very soft way of saying the FBI went into this with an agenda. It was a hit job to frame the president and get him impeached. Going in with bias. Easy way to say that. Q says, bigger than Watergate, biggest scandal in U.S. history, but crickets in the fake news media. Are you watching Hannity? Q asks. Did you hear what the Texas congressman just stated? Huber. So the Texas congressman on Hannity last night stated that Huber would be responsible for all the charges versus those involved in the fake Russia collusion nonsense. Huber. So here comes Huber, guys. Good news. FISA is what begins to unravel everything. Easiest way to do so. And then post 1973, last one on FISA. If the fake Steele dossier contributed to the bulk of facts submitted to the court to obtain the warrant against POTUS, well, it's all just bullshit. Again, these are all rhetorical questions, just saying they made up the evidence they used to bring into court to make up. I mean, it was all just circular bullshit they were doing with themselves, and it was all fabrication. Q asks here, what will the 20 FISA fourth warrant disclose? 20-page FISA fourth warrant. Trust the plan. Huber has everything. It's all about Huber. So those are the main Q posts I wanted to go through. A lot of them. There's some brand new ones too. Interesting. QAnon. Nothing to see here. A couple more posts on the China hack too, starting in 2010 when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. So yeah, a lot of these posts from yesterday were Q just reminding us to stay the course, to not isolate ourselves, to look at history books, to remember that people are dying to defend this country, that, you know, being a cheerleader of sorts. And then in one of these posts, actually, it's pretty interesting, Q almost confirms that P equals pacer. And I liked this because there's a few that have been questioning pacer, if there's any connections between that. And if you actually look up who the pacers were, they were a industrial family in the 1800s that were instrumental in the creation of many of the control systems with the Rockefellers here in America. And Q has referenced P before, but nobody really knew what P meant. Some thought maybe Pope, but it was just P. So Q's saying here P equals pacer. And a few months ago when some of the pacer talk first started coming out, it was funny because I picked up a David Icke book like just a few days before Q referenced P. And I turned to the page in the David Icke book where he was talking about the pacers, and I read a couple pages. So it was fresh in my mind when Q referenced P, and I was like, oh, what if P means pacer, not Pope? So it's just funny ways the universe works. So anyway, we have the answers on P now. And there's one more article I want to share with you guys coming out of Newsweek here. This wasn't referenced in the Q post or anything, but it's really important to share because it's very timely, and there's a very crucial point I want to make with it. And it's out of Newsweek. It says CIA and Saudi Arabia conspired to keep 9/11 details secret, a new book says. So you might be saying to yourself, holy shit, is 9/11 truth coming out? Why is mainstream source Newsweek reporting on it like this? Well, the word I want to offer to you right here is bait and switch. So what they're trying to do is that they know the 9/11 truth is coming out. So many people are questioning it. So what they're doing is offering a twisted narrative to funnel people into one particular way of viewing this. So, okay, you'll say, wow, they're putting the CIA on blast for keeping 9/11 details secret. But check out this line in the article here. It says, then again, a considerable number of 9/11, quote, truthers embrace conspiracy theories positing that the attacks were an, quote, inside job by the Bush administration and or Israel, and abetted by explosive planted in one of the World Trade Center towers. Not just one, 3 actually. So you can see here, they're still squashing the deeper truths about it, calling it conspiracy theories or an inside job by the Bush administration. But on the other hand, they're trying to say, oh yeah, Saudi Arabia did it, the CIA kept it secret, yada yada. So you can see how they're giving you a partial truth. And it's not even a partial truth because it's not a truth. It's a twisted version of it. Okay? So be very careful, especially as 9/11 approaches here next couple weeks. Not just 9/11, but any topic out there. Bait and switch. They'll give you a twisted version of the truth so they can shy you away from the full version of it. And you have to be very discerning of what they say, how they say it, etc., etc. So that's why I wanted to show you that. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing. Just want to remind you, if you want to support the work I'm doing, hop on over to Patreon. You can do so. I do live chats on Patreon on a weekly, semi-weekly basis as much as I can, and you get access to those at whatever level you can and want to donate with. Whatever you do, $1 a month, more than that, I appreciate it. I just appreciate your support, and it helps me out greatly through Patreon. They haven't messed with me quite yet. I've seen them mess with others, but luckily they haven't messed with my account. So thank you guys. That's all for this one. I'll be talking to you very soon.